Hello and welcome to this live stream event. Today, I am going to talk about 5 reasons that if you have a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush mentality, why that's keeping you from making a move abroad or living any other big dream that you have in your heart. And this is something that held me back for years. And once I broke free from that, um, I was able to do really big things that scared me. So, if you are joining live, welcome. I would love to see where you are joining from and if you can hear me. Hi, Damaris. Good to see you. Um, can you hear me? Let me know in the comments. And as I wait on that, I will tell you a little bit about myself if you don't already know a little bit about me. I am Patricia Brooks and I am the Courage Catalyst. And I moved to France 6 years ago to find myself. It was a midlife crisis. And now I've been here for 6 years, going on 7 years, and it feels amazing. And one of the things that I felt was missing in my journey was having a community of like minded women who were doing the same thing that I was doing to do that with. And so I decided that I was going to create that community. So I help single women who dream of moving from the country that they're living in now, where they don't necessarily feel so welcome or feel so comfortable anymore, and help them to move through fear or self-doubt or whatever it is that's holding them back so that they can finally get to their dream country and feel free to be themselves. And so that's who I am. That's what I do. And today I am going to share with you that 5 reasons that having a bird in the hand mentality is holding you back from moving abroad or any other dream that you might have in your heart. All right. So I see a Southern Rose Tia D is joining from Richmond, Virginia. All right. Richmond, Virginia is in the house. And I will share with you that I will be visiting the US in February. And I think that I will be hosting a mini meetup, not anything big. Find a cafe to meet in one Sunday afternoon while I'm there. So Southern Rose Tia D, if that sounds interesting to you, that's coming soon, and I will share more details. And Damaris can hear me loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So if you're joining live, welcome. This is going to be interactive. I just shared a little bit about myself, and I want to jump right in because this is a packed live. I've got a lot of information to share with you here. Before we do that, I do have one question for you. So for me, growing up, I heard my mom, my dad say, bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. And that was something in the beginning I didn't even know what meant, but it had started to become a belief that I had, and it held me back. It made me feel like I couldn't do the things I wanted to do because I needed to have that safety and security of this job that maybe I didn't like, but it was paying the bills, right? So that is what I'm going to unpack here. And my question for you is, what adages or what sayings have you grown up hearing and have held you back in some way in terms of moving forward with a goal or a dream that you had in your heart? Let me know what those are in the comments because I would be interested in hearing what those are because this is just one of them, and this might not even resonate with you, but this is something that was a big one for me, so I thought I'd unpack it. And any of the limiting beliefs that you might have that you might share with us, you can use these skills that I'm going to share with you today to break free from. Okay, so jumping in to reason number one, that having a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush mindset. And again, that goes back to having safety and security of something, whether that be a job or whether that be a relationship, is better than not having that thing, better than going for something different in life. And the first reason that may be holding you back is because it's based on safety, and safety based in fear, in lack, in scarcity. Now, why is that such a problem? Well, safety isn't necessarily a problem, but when you do things based on fear or based on the idea that there's not going to be enough, that is not good because it brings your energy level low, right? So when I went through coach training, I went through energy leadership training. It talks about how everything is energy, and there's 7 levels of energy. And the 2 lowest levels of energy are levels energy 1 and levels energy 2, right? Energy level 1 is about victim. Oh, woe is me. I can't change my circumstance. And you're kind of apathetic. Energy level 2 is all about conflict and anger and resistance and feeling like, I want to do this thing, but I can't do it, right? And when we are in those lower levels of energy, we can't at all really see or think clearly, right? And we are caught up in analysis, and it's not a good place to be if we want to expand our horizons, if we want to move forward with our lives. But that's what having this mentality will do. It will keep you stuck in the lower levels of energy, where you're feeling like you can't do anything, so you don't, or you're feeling angry about things. And so maybe if you do something, you're acting out of a lower level of energy that isn't necessarily going to get you the progress that you're looking for, right? So if we can move out of those lower levels, and even just to energy level 3, which is the level of responsibility, where the thought is responsibility and the feeling is around forgiveness. Oh, I forgive this situation. This is the situation, but I'm going to do the best with what I have. Then you can just move through things so much more easily. So that's not reason number 1, that a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush mentality, maybe holding you back from moving abroad or living any other dream that you have in your heart, is because it keeps your energy level low. And at those lower levels of energy, you can't really move forward well. So now I've shared that with you. How can you move out of the lower levels of energy? Well, the first step is really just being aware that you are there, right? Because a lot of times we are working or living in a place where we don't even know how we're feeling. We don't even know what we're thinking. It's just so automatic. So in order to break free from this, the first step is awareness. And the awareness can be directed at either what you're thinking that has brought on a feeling, or how you're actually feeling. And for me, I think I can notice my feelings often first before I notice what I'm thinking, right? So for me, this idea of bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. Oh, I better not, stop working this job and look for this other job over here because I know what I've got going on in this job, was a feeling of in my chest, a tightness, like I was constricted, right? And so when I feel that, then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, something's going on here. Am I in what is my energy level low? And then I would go back and think, well, what was the thought? Oh yeah, that bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. That came up for me. And that is that's the first step, is awareness. All right. So that's how you start to break out of that. All right. I see some other people have joined. H and D abroad. Good morning. And Eleanor, good morning. Yes, welcome. So just jumping in, just finished with the first reason that having a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush mentality is hampering your dreams. And I asked if you have, for me, this adage, a bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush, was something I grew up with. And it might not be the adage or the saying that you learned or grew up with, but you might have one that is limiting for you. It keeps you stuck, keeps you doing the safe thing, the quote unquote safe thing. So if you do have an adage that is different from a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, but that you had heard growing up and has impacted you in some way, I'd like to know what that adage is. So please type that in the comments if you have that. All right. So with that first reason, if there are any questions, let me know, because I'm going to be addressing questions as well. All right. So moving on to the second reason, that having this kind of mindset, the safety, above all else mindset, is so challenging to moving abroad or doing something really big in your life, is because it limits your imagination. All right. It hampers your creativity to find solutions, because oftentimes when we want to do something big, it's not necessarily so easy to see how we're going to get there. But if we're not imaginative, if are unable to be creative or find creative solutions, then we can just say, well, I want to do this thing, but I don't see a path forward. So I guess I better just stay with this thing that's safe. Because mommy always said, a bird in his hand's worth two in the bush. So maybe she was right. So when we are in the lower levels of energy, as I spoke of before, whether we're feeling anger or whether we're feeling apathy, we are thinking and ruminating on the same thoughts over and over again, thoughts that you don't have options, right? It's black or white. I can do this or I can do that, but there's nothing in between, and you feel stuck. And so those thoughts crowd the mind. You don't have space to allow your intuition, your intuitive voice, to break through so that you can hear the solutions, creative solutions or ideas that could help move your dream forward. So, for example, if you are in a role, potentially maybe you're an administrative assistant and you've been doing it for years, and in the beginning it was fine, but now it is something that you'd rather not do, but it's all you know. And so you think, well, I want to move abroad, but how can I move abroad with what I do? This is the only thing I know how to do, is to be an administrative assistant. You hear somebody say, oh, become a virtual assistant, but you're really not feeling this administrative assistant thing, but you go down that path anyway. And maybe you create a business around that. And maybe you even make the move abroad, and you get there, you get into your dream country. And for some reason or other, you are still not happy. Well, that reason is because you weren't able to think outside the box to create a career or a job or a business that was more in line with what you truly wanted. You were stuck in that, oh, this is what I know. And because my imagination was limited, I was not able to think of a different thing that would bring me a different result. All right. So does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to you. Let's see what we got here. All right. So Southern Rose TD said, that's the saying that she's heard. I've been unlearning the habit of settling because a bird in the hand conditions you to mediocrity. Yes, I'm going to put that on the screen because that's a good one. I think a lot of us have had that as our, I don't call it an anthem, but for me, it truly was. And breaking free from it has been such an amazing experience. All right. So that's the second reason, that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush mindset limits your imagination, hampers your creativity to find solutions to get you to where you want to be, right? And where you want to be happily, right? Because if we just say, oh, well, this is all I know, and this is all I can do, then you might not have the results that you want. And I do want to say here that if you've had a career of 10 years, 5 or 10 years, you probably have more skills than you know, right? And you don't necessarily have to do the skill that is the main thing that you've been doing, right? Maybe there's some other skills that you could use or leverage in creating an opportunity for you. So that's there. So what can you do if you are breaking free from this mindset and you want to become more creative, figure out more options, see more options. I think the first thing still is to go back to become aware when you are in those lower levels of energy, right? Because that's the first step. And then when you hear yourself say, well, there's nothing else I can do, or I only know how to do this one thing, then what you can do is you can make a habit of quieting your mind every day, and through meditation, and have a pen and paper next to you, sit quietly for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and see what comes to you. And then write down the ideas that come to you. Oftentimes we are most creative when we aren't thinking, when we're not in our heads, when we are just being. And so the more opportunity you give yourself to be in that space, the more you will have opportunities to listen to that intuitive voice, that inner compass that knows exactly what you need and knows exactly how you can get there. All right. So that's one way is meditate, have a pen and paper next to you, and write down the ideas that come to you. Earl Nightingale also, was a motivational speaker. He suggests every morning to write 5 ideas to, and this is around creating business opportunities or financial opportunities, 5 ideas, and write them down every day. So at the end of the week, you might have 35 ideas written down, and maybe 2 of them are really ones that you could pursue and that have some promise. And so just generating more ideas will give you the opportunity to see those gems that come up for you. All right. So quieting the mind. And then the other thing is, a lot of times we will just be walking along or taking a shower, and we'll have a thought that comes up that, oh, I should do this. I should pursue this. And it comes, it flickers, and it's fast. And we can either do one of 2 things. We can just forget about it because it was so fast, or we can poo-poo the idea because, well, you know what? That's not the safe option. That's not the safe option. So then we move on and we forget about it. And it could have been something that could have helped us. So when you do have those flashes of inspiration, write them down, note them in some way, voice record them, do something so that you can track them and come back to it. And don't discount it. Don't discount it, because those ideas that come in a flash and go in a flash could be the thing that gets you to your new country, the thing that gets you to your new opportunity. All right. So questions on number 2, limiting the imagination. Okay. So moving on to number 3, the reason that this idea, this bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, hampers you from moving abroad, from living the kind of life that you want to live, is because you are buying into somebody else's core values, belief systems, and risk tolerance, or might I say risk intolerance. All right. So for this, there is, well, let me back up. What is a core belief, right? We all have core beliefs, but we might not know that. We might not realize that we have core beliefs. Core beliefs are principles that help guide our lives, help us to make decisions. And when we are not in alignment with our core values, we can feel resistance or a tug of war inside of us, right? So this bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, for me, was something that, when I wanted to leave a job that wasn't right for me, I held on to it longer than I thought I should. This is a really good example. My first job out of college was because I took it, and it was a nightmare because I believed a bird in the hand was worth 2 in the bush. So I went for a job interview in May, right before I graduated from college. And when I went to the interview, the office just had a bad energy about it. And I said, you know what? This is not the job for me. They offered me the job on the spot. I was courageous enough to say, can I think about it? Can I think about it? And they said, sure. So I drove home to my mom's house, 20 minutes away. When I was walking in the door, the phone was ringing, and my mom answered it. And when I got into the living room. She's like, "Oh, it's for you." I answered the phone, and it was the company that had just given me the job offer. 20 minutes later, they thought I only needed 20 minutes to think about it. So I felt kind of in a corner. I was 22 years old. And I could hear my mom say, she's standing right there, bird hands worth two in the bush. I thought, you know what? This job is going to pay me $21,500 a year. This is back in 1989. And I'm going to have some student loans coming due. I don't know when the next opportunity or next offer is going to come. I better take this job. And I took it. And for the next 9 months, I regretted it. I was treated unfairly. It was a management training program. There was another white guy who was in the same training program as I, and he was given everything he needed to succeed: a desk, a chair, a phone. I was still fighting for those 9 months later. And over the course of the 9 months, I was stressed, and then I got fired, right? And it was just like, I knew in my heart I should not take this job. It was something that was against, my inner compass, and yet I did it because a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. So because I bought into somebody else's value system, all right? So it can really take you down the wrong path if you allow it to. So it's important to become aware of your core values. And because when you are aware of them and when you are conscious of them, or they're in the forefront of your mind, when you have a decision to make, it makes making that decision easier. When you are faced with this idea that comes up for you that, oh, I really think I want to move to France or Spain, but how would I do that? Oh, no, that's not a safe thing to do. I'm going to stay put. You can check in with your values and why is it that you want to make that move abroad? And how does that align with your values? How would that support your values? And how would that make you feel? How would that raise your energy? We talked about the energy levels earlier. How would that raise your energy so that you can show up in a way so that things go your way, right? So becoming aware of your core values is vital, right, in breaking this cycle of believing that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So how can you do that? How can you do that? Well, I have a values assessment, a core values assessment that I use with my group. And I am offering that. Let me share that with you. If you're interested in downloading that, you can do that by going to thecouragecatalyst.com/value. And you can download the core values assessment for free. And you can check in with, okay, what is most important to me in my life right now? What are the top 3 things that are values that are important to me in my life now? And am I honoring them? And how can I better honor them? And in this way, you can become aware of what your core values are. You can bring them to the forefront of your mind, and then you can start living a little bit more consciously. Start questioning these beliefs, like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and say, wait a minute, whose belief is that, right? Where did that come from anyway? And then start to move forward in the direction of your dreams. Okay, so thecouragecatalyst.com/value, that will get you to download the core values assessment and take that. And I would be interested in hearing what your core values are, maybe in another live stream that I do. All right. So that is number 3. We are number 3 already. Okay. And it's me, Yvette. Hi, it's me, Yvette. This conversation is so timely. Great discussion. Yeah, I think it's stuff that we don't learn in school, but some of this stuff is really important to living the kind of lives that we want to live and contributing in a way that is the way we were meant to when we took these bodies in the first place. All right. So thank you for sharing that. It's me, Yvette. All right. So number 4, the reason that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush mentality is holding you back from moving abroad or doing that other thing that you want, any other big thing you want to do, is because it hinders your growth. Now, I believe that we all are here to grow. If we weren't here to grow, we would all still be infants, right? We have grown. We've grown physically, we have grown mentally, we've grown emotionally, we've learned new things. And so we are here to expand and grow. But believing something such as a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and staying in a situation that is the safe bet keeps us from expanding and growing in the capacity that we can. All right. So, for example, I think about 7 years ago leaving that job, and I think about how much I have grown and changed over the course of these 7 years. How I've become fluent in a new language, how I have handled some really challenging times here in France, how I have started a business here, how I'm going live every week now. It's not anything I thought I would do even maybe a year ago. Like lives used to be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do a live. I can record a video, but doing a live. So I've grown in so many ways. And as I think back to my life as a project manager, going into a job that I could do well, but it had served its purpose, it served its course. I think about, what would my life look and feel like right now if I were still doing that job? Because it had crossed my mind that, you got 10, 15 years before you can retire. Maybe you do the safe thing and then you move abroad when you retire. But my intuition wasn't having it. It was saying, no, you got to get to France. You got to get to France soon. And I'm so glad that it chimed up, because here I am. So at any rate, I think about that and I think, well, I was managing 7 years ago, I was managing to make lemonade out of lemons, right? I wasn't happy, but it was like, I was doing okay. I was keeping my head above water emotionally. I was doing okay. I wasn't sinking back into depression. But I think if I were still doing that 7 years later and not growing in the way that I have grown, what would my mental state be? What would my physical state be? Because if you are stressed and that creates depression or anxiety, then that wears on the rest of your body and that creates disease. So it hinders your growth. It impacts your health in those ways. And so while on the surface, it might seem like maybe it's logical, the bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. I've got this job. I shouldn't quit a job unless I have another one, which is what I did. I didn't listen to my mom in the end, but I didn't, the thing of it was, I prepared, right? I didn't do this in a rash manner, right? I prepared. And so I'm not saying, just quit your job if you don't have a safety net, if you don't have some savings or a plan for that finances that you might need. I'm just saying, if you have this dream in your heart, you can't say, well, a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. I'm not even going to attempt to do anything so that I can change my situation. You might need to take small steps to get there. But the idea that, this job is safe and secure forever, and I'm not going to change, that can backfire as well, right? That could be, oh yeah, this was safe, but the economy changed, the markets changed, and I got laid off, right? And you didn't change with it. So the only constant is change. If you are not growing, you're not changing. And that's another reason. And reason number 4, why this mentality, bird in the hand, is not helping you, is keeping you stuck, is keeping you from already living in your dream country. And it's time to nip this in the bud once and for all. And so that's why you're here, right? All right. So questions. I've been talking for quite a while now. If you have questions, please type them in the chat, or thoughts. other ideas, other adages that have held you back, other limiting beliefs that you are working to break out of. I'd love to hear those. All right. And Southern Tia D says, yes, you are speaking the truth. It is, I think this is an experience that so many of us have, and we are meant to grow and live the kind of lives that we want to, because that is the purpose. That is our purpose here, is to be the people that we were born to be. All right. So, and there's another comment here. I can't see what this says. Oh, yes. These employers and jobs are traumatizing. Yeah, they can be. They really can be. And it's it's challenging. It's challenging. All right. So I'm going to wrap up, get to number 5. And the 5th reason that this mentality keeps you stuck, keeps you from living your dream life abroad or wherever it is you want to live it, is that it fosters a belief that you are not worthy of having the things that you want, right? Because I think somebody mentioned about settling earlier. That's exactly what you're doing when you're saying, okay, I burned the hands, we're 2 in the bush. I'll do this thing over here that somebody told me was safe and that's what I should do. But in my heart, I really want to do this thing over here. But yeah, it fosters a belief that you're not worthy of that goal that you have or that dream that you have. And I teach my members of my program about success congruence. And the success congruence is all about how if we have a goal or a dream that we are working toward, we're going to struggle to reach that goal or dream if 3 things aren't true. And that is that first, you need to believe that what you're going for is true. First, you need to believe that what you're going for is possible and possible for you to achieve. Because if you don't believe that, you're not going to put in the work. You're just not going to, it's just not going to happen. The second is that you are fully committed to doing what it takes to make that dream a reality or that goal a reality. Again, that goes, those 2 play off of one another. You don't believe it, then you're not going to be committed. You don't commit, you're not going to do the work. All right. But the third reason is that if you don't believe that you are worthy or deserve the thing you're going for, you're going to feel guilty about living or doing the thing that you want to do, working toward doing the thing that you want to do, or even experiencing the thing that you want to do. And so that will hold you back because you don't want to have that guilt, so that you're not going to put in the effort, or maybe you're not going to believe that it's possible for you. Okay. So it fosters a belief that you are not worthy of having the thing that you really want to do. And we all know that you are truly worthy of going for what it is you have in your heart. All right. So that's the 5th reason. And one thing, and how can you move through this one? Well, for this one, you want to do the thing that you don't feel worthy of doing, because I think it's kind of like confidence. It's kind of like building confidence. You got to do the thing that feels that you're scared of doing, because in the doing of it and the repetition of the doing of it, you build your confidence in your ability to do that thing. And this worthiness factor is all about that. There's somebody who I'm coaching, and she is working to move abroad and away from family. And she struggles because she has guilt about moving away from family. But the thing is, she has last year has made some really big strides, and she has spent some time abroad, a couple months here and there abroad. And I asked her, you speak of this guilt that you have, that you don't feel like you can do this because you feel like you have to stay back and be close to family. When you were away those 3 or 4 months last year, did you feel guilty? And she stopped and she thought, she's like, and when she hesitated, I knew the answer. And she's like, yeah, no. I'm like, well, you need to travel more. You need to spend more time abroad so that you get used to that feeling, so that That's the normal feeling. And when you go back to around family, you realize, oh no, this is not how I want to feel. Oh yeah, this is the thing I'm going for, and I deserve it. All right. So do the thing that you feel like you're not worthy of, because it will build a muscle in you. All right. So those are the 5 reasons that believing that a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, having that as a part of your belief system, will keep you from making a move abroad, from doing any other big goal that you want to do. It just holds you back. All right. So I've got a couple more comments. So let's see. So Damaris asked, did I land in Paris first? So when I moved to France in 2018, I moved to a city called Perpignan, which is 5 hours due south of Paris. So I flew into Paris, but then I had to get on a train and take the train 5 hours south to get to my new home. So I never lived in Paris, but I did travel through it. All right, this is so nice. Jesse St. Jess, you're an inspiration, Patricia, and just what I needed to hear today. Thank you for the energy that you put out into the world. Thank you. Feels so good to hear that. I do this because I want to help people move through their fears and doubts and realize the things that are most important to them, whether it be a move abroad or something else. And the reason that is so important to me is because I recognize that life is short, and I don't want to get to the end of my life having regrets about what I wish I had done but was too afraid to do. And I don't want any of you to get there either. And so that's why I do this. So thank you so much for saying that, Jesse. All right. So, other questions or thoughts before I wrap up? So if you missed there is a handout for core values. I spoke about core values earlier. If you want to get that, be sure to go to thecouragecatalyst.com/value to download a copy of that. And if you are interested in moving through fears or self-doubts about making a move abroad, or if there's something else big you're working on, I do offer one-on-one coaching as well. My signature program is the Carefree Expat Incubator, where I help single women who were just like me, who were dying to get to their new country, but doubted their ability to do it and needed a little bit of accountability. In the program, I have group coaching calls every week where you get on a call and you share what you're working through or what you find challenging. Other women are on the call, so they're there to support and encourage. They're also there being coached and mentored, so you're hearing what they're working on, and it's a good dynamic, a really good dynamic. So there's that. There is the online curriculum that walks you through some of this stuff that I'm talking about today. There's a core values activity just like this, but the benefit of the program is that you get to have a coach to talk through and work through some of the challenges you might find in completing that. Also, there is a Facebook community to post your wins and encourage others. And it's just an amazing community and environment. And I really wish that I had this when I landed in France 6 years ago, or 7 years, just about 7 years ago now, because I had done it. You couldn't tell me anything for the first 2 weeks, but in that third week, it hit home. It was like, oh, Patricia, that bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush idea and mentality came crashing in. It's like, what have you done? Was it such a smart thing to do? And so I felt really alone in working through that. And it didn't go away quickly. It was 7 or 8 months. The first good part of that first year, I was struggling with that self-doubt and that, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. So having the support of the community, but once you've made your leap, is also a benefit. All right. And there's another comment here. Yes. So I know that you've mentioned it before, but are you fluent in French, Damaris? Yes. So I am fluent in French, and now I'm actually tackling Spanish. And that's another place where I have grown, because I never imagined that I would become fluent in French, but then it was something that I hoped that I would. But then to take on another language and to be in a class learning Spanish, but through a French lens, or, where people are speaking French to teach me Spanish. That's an amazing feeling. And I think one of the reasons, that's the other thing I didn't share with you. So Saturday, if I'm going to be on a future expat meetup with Christopher Wells. Now, I interviewed him back in December on this YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen that episode, we talk about the cultural differences. And he's in Spain. He's in Valencia, Spain. You might want to check that out on this channel. But then on Saturday, I'm going to be in the future expat meetup that he does once a month, every Saturday, or one time a month on a Saturday. And let me drop that link in there so you can, if you're interested, we're going to talk about acquiring a new language and five tips each that we want to share, and then also just our experience in general. So let me get that. Let's see. Here we go. So here's the future expat meetup. It's not an easy link. I'll put a link to that in the description once we wrap up as well. So I'll leave that on the screen. Any other questions before we go? Well, let me ask you this. What of the 5 reasons that this mentality keeps you stuck, which one were you most surprised in hearing, or which one hadn't you thought about for this limiting belief? Let me know in the comments. And then we're going to wrap up. All right. Let's do this. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, it's pretty quiet. I'm not a big talker, so I'm not going to fill the space. But I want to thank everybody who joined live, and I want to thank everybody who's joining from the future for watching this live. I got somebody. Somebody said, wait a minute, don't go. Southern Rose Tia D says, I never considered how this mentality can stifle creativity and imagination. Yes. I mean, it's huge because it puts us in a box, right? It was like, this is the thing that I can do, right? I need to survive, and this is how I'm going to do it. This is the only way I can do it, right? Or there's people are making livings doing so many different things, so many things that we never would have thought. I was in a business program, I still am, where there is a woman who teaches online. She teaches people how to dance more confidently so they can go out to a club and feel comfortable dancing more comfortably, right? And she's got some interesting videos and some good moves and all of that. And I was like, oh, and she's making a good living doing it, right? So you might have a hobby, right? It might not be something that you picked up at work. You might have a hobby that, if you're creative about it, you can figure out, maybe there's a way that I can do this thing that I love doing and make good money at it. Thank you, Southern Rose Tia D. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here then. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. This has been wonderful. And Saturdays, the meetup, expat meetup. So I'm going to put a link in the description if you didn't jot it down already. And the next week I've got a live on Tuesday where I am speaking to Jennifer Abernathy, and we're going to talk about 5 things the modern women over 49 need to know for greater balance in their lives in 2024 and beyond. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. So be sure to set a reminder for that. That's already scheduled. So you can set a reminder for that so you don't miss that. And all right. So got another comment here. Let's see what this is. Okay, so the host has a question for me. She's jumping in, right? Right under the wire. I'm an independent radio talk show host and writer. Produce my own show. Would like to move abroad for about a year or so. Suggestions. So, I guess the question is, what is it that you're struggling with that you need suggestions about? Because I'm not really sure where to go with that. So, type that in, and I'll do what I can to answer that. And Eleanor, thank you so much for joining. Yes, and participating. And waiting for the host to help me with that. Help a little bit more with clarification on that. All right. So as I said, in February, I'm going to be in Richmond, and I am going to do a meetup, very casual sort of thing at a cafe someplace. I haven't picked the place. I haven't picked the date. But if you're going to be in the Richmond, Virginia area, I'll post more about it once I get all the particulars ironed out. If you're going to be in the Richmond area, I would love to meet you. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see what we got here. How to monetize in another country. So I think that's a question for, a deeper question, but you've got a lot of skills. So in terms of being a talk show host and a writer, so you can freelance write. I'm not sure what kinds of writing that you do. There are lots of ways that you can monetize writing. So depending on what you write, there are lots of avenues to do that. And then a radio talk show host, I'm not really sure. I know that some people who have podcasts have been able to monetize if they have a big enough following, but I'm not really sure. This would be a question really for what are your thoughts on it? What comes to mind when you bring that up? That's something that I like to ask the person because maybe there's something you're thinking about, and maybe you've got this idea that, I couldn't really do it that way because, bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, right? What are some thoughts about how you could monetize writing? What kinds of writing do you do, and how could you monetize that? You're a radio talk show host. How could you use those facilitation skills in potentially online forums? People have webinars and events all of the time, and they may need somebody to facilitate their events. So, I think there's a market for that. It's just a matter of thinking outside of the box. I hope that helps. I hope that helps the host. Does that help? Let me know in the comments, yes or no. All right. So in Southern Rose, Tia D says, count me in. Yes, she's in the Richmond, Virginia area. So definitely we'll get that information posted as soon as I have that. And anybody else have anything else before we go? Want to make sure that the host is thank you. So I guess that has helped. I mean, there's so many things you can do, right? And it's a matter of, I think, talking through with somebody. Sometimes if you have a sounding board, I think that's why coaching is so great. If you have a sounding board, you can actually say the things that you're thinking in your head, And the coach is able to say, well, what about this? Or tell me a little bit more about that. And as you drill in, you can get ideas that alone you might not get. So if you have somebody who is a friend, somebody who you trust and who believes in you and in your dream, that could be something that you could do. I just had a conversation with a fellow coach today and was bouncing some ideas off for 2024. And it was just a very energetic session. So that could be something that could be helpful for you in terms of, no, it's not a suggestion on how to monetize, but it is a suggestion on how to figure out how to monetize. All right. So, all right. I'm going to wrap it up there. Don't want to ramble, but thank you everybody for joining and participating. And I will see you either on Saturday or on Tuesday or in another live. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.